We find out that Lydia has been talking to the dead on a talk show and communicating with spirits from the other world. We also find out about her relationship with her daughter Astrid, which is also estranged. The reason being because she would never communicate with Astrid's father. They receive a phone call from Delia Dietz letting them know that Charles has passed away. The Dietzes reunite, but there is tension in the family, something that could have been expanded upon more. On the day of Charles Dietz's funeral, Rory proposes to Lydia for Halloween night. Astrid is filled with contempt and anger, so she runs away from the old house and meets Jeremy. It turns out that Jeremy is a trickster demon, and he is trying to steal Astrid's soul to go back to the land of the living. Lydia once again makes a pact with Beetlejuice to save her daughter's life. But Beetlejuice is also being tracked by his first wife, who is played by Monica Bellucci. Her name is Dolores, and she is a soul sucker. We find out that she has sacrificed Beetlejuice, and that is why he is in the land of the dead. In the end, Beetlejuice reveals Rory's true intentions, and Dolores shows up conveniently, and they are both disposed of by the sandworm. Astrid breaches a contract and sends Beetlejuice back to the underworld. Her story could have been explored more. They give backstory and they tell you a little bit about her, but it's mainly just scenes of her walking through hallways and soul-sucking, and not enough substance. I would have preferred more interactions with her and Beetlejuice, and I felt that they didn't focus on that enough, unfortunately. If I would have corrected anything about this film, I would have split it into 2 films, and I would have cut out Jeffrey Jones completely. Now, I didn't hate the movie, not at all, but I do feel that they tried to cram too much into it with Astrid's love interest with Jeremy, and then trying to fix the relationship between Astrid and Lydia, and then trying to focus on the relationship between Lydia, Charles, and Delia, and there was just too much going on. And honestly, if I would have changed anything, I would have cut Charles out completely, him out, and I think that they should have focused more on Astrid and Lydia and Beetlejuice and Dolores. I felt that Monica Bellucci's screen time wasn't enough, and they didn't really explore her story enough. It was just her walking around in hallways and taking souls, and that was really it. And then at the very ending, they conveniently are disposed of by a sandworm, and it just feels very anticlimactic. And I think that it should have been split into 2 movies, not just one. Explore Astrid's relationship with Lydia, and finding her father in the underworld. There wasn't given enough time to explore it. It's just like, oh yeah, Dad's here. How did he die? Piranhas. And they don't really explore what happened between Astrid's father and Lydia, and I thought that was disappointing. I wanted to know more about Astrid's father, and like I said, it just was not given enough detail, and that was my main problem with it. It was a lot of fun, and it was great to see Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice again, because I love Michael Keaton. He was my Batman. It wasn't enough to save all of the plot holes that were in the film, all the stories that were kind of just like given that much screen time, that much time to really develop, and they weren't really developed enough. So yeah, that was my problem with the film. It's hard to top the original. It was a good attempt. Like what many people have said, legacy sequels are either hit or miss. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. And after waiting so long, I have very mixed feelings about it. I love Beetlejuice. I grew up with the animated series with Alison Court as Lydia, and I really enjoyed the series and the movie. So when I saw this, I was just like, at the very end of it, my wife liked it, but at the end of it, I just was like, the stories were kind of just incomplete. Everything felt incomplete and just thrown in the blender. And let's turn it into a movie. I had a problem with that. I love Beetlejuice, and I love Michael Keaton, and I love Winona Ryder. You know, they're my childhood. I grew up with them, but I felt that, you know, I wanted to see, it would have been cool if they would have implicated the relationship that Lydia had with Beetlejuice from the cartoon series. Like, he actually wants to help Lydia and they become friends. I was kind of hoping that would happen, but again, that was made for kids, so, you know, it's vastly different compared to the original movie where Beetlejuice actually tries to get Lydia to marry him. And then, you know, then there's like a 22-year age gap. And in the cartoon series, he's basically just like a big brother to her, and he's always looking after her. So I love the two completely different stories. One thing I did enjoy about the animated series was Tim Burton was heavily involved with it, and I thought that was awesome. So, you know, you don't hear that often of the original people being involved with their product. You know, they just hand it off to a studio and then they take care of it. So, but Tim Burton was heavily involved with it. So, yeah, I would definitely check out the animated series if you didn't like Beetlejuice. I recommend it. I recommend you give it a watch yourself. I don't think it's horrible. I do think that it should have been given more time, and it felt very rushed. So, yeah, give it a shot. Let me know what you think. What did you think of Beetlejuice? Did you enjoy it? Were there things that weren't touched up upon? Do you feel that some stories could have been left out? I know that people said that William Dafoe's character could have been completely written out and it wouldn't have really changed. It wouldn't really have affected the story. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you like what you see, hit that like button and subscribe, and I welcome you to join the madness. Thank you.